Welcome to the Stairs and Appeals Process for CAASPP and the ELPAC video, sponsored by the California Department of Education, or CDE. The Security and Test Administration Incident Reporting System, or STARS, lives within the Test Operations Management System, or TOMS. The purpose of the Stairs and Appeals process is to report a test security incident or other issue that interfere with the administration or completion of the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or CAASPP, and the English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, or ELPAC. The Stairs and Appeals process is only used to report incidents related to the summative assessments for Smarter Balanced for English Language Arts and Literacy, or ELA, and Mathematics, the California Science Test, or CAST, the California Alternate Assessments, or CAAs, for ELA and Mathematics, the CAA for Science, the California Spanish Assessment, or CSA, the initial ELPAC, the summative ELPAC, and the alternate ELPAC. Note that this process is not used to report any interim assessment incidents. When submitting a STARS case, it is important to know who, what, and when, which includes the grade level, the specific test, and the statewide student identifiers, or SSIDs, of all the students involved. Also, it's essential for the person submitting to use the completion status system to check the student's test status prior to using STARS, since the test status affects the eligibility of a change to a test when submitting an appeal. To begin the STARS and Appeals process, log on to TOMS and select the STARS tab from the navigation bar. This automatically defaults to the new STARS webpage. Select your school in the school drop-down list. Then select the date of the testing incident, grade level affected, test name, and the type or domain if applicable, and then select the Next button. Note that LEAs are required to submit a different STARS case for each grade level, domain, or test. Now select a testing issue. At this point, your STARS ID has been generated. Make a note of the STARS ID so you can search for it later if necessary. Depending on the testing issue, there may be follow-up questions on the next screen. If you need to do additional research to complete the submission, save your submission as a draft by selecting the Save as Draft button. Your answers will help STARS determine whether you need to submit an appeal. Once questions are complete, select the Next button. STARS cases can only be processed if they are submitted before the end of the selected testing window of the school for most of the CAASPP and before the end of the test administration window for the CSA and ELPAC. All reopen, reset, and grace period extension appeals should be submitted at least 1 week prior to the end of the test window to allow the student time to finish the assessment. Some STARS cases require an appeal. What is an appeal? An appeal is a way to change the status of a student's test. For example, if a test has been expired and you want to reopen it. Some incidents may require that an appeal be submitted to reset, restore, rescore, reopen, invalidate, or request a grace period extension for a test. All appeal requests require the number of students and their SSIDs to be entered. If your issue doesn't require an appeal, the system can bypass the student information screen and go directly to the Confirm Details screen. For incidents with 10 students or fewer, SSIDs may be entered manually or uploaded using the Upload option. For incidents with more than 10 students, batch uploading SSIDs using a template is required. The Upload option can be used to input a large number of SSIDs, up to a maximum of 500, per STARS case. The description of the issue field is required and helps the reviewer understand the details of the incident. Be sure to include what happened and any remediation efforts that were made, but do not include the names of students or staff members. After entering a description of the issues, select Next to continue to the Prepare File for Upload section. If the Upload option is used, select Download Template to download an empty Excel template. Follow the directions in the downloaded file to enter the SSID of each student involved in the incident. Save the file as an Excel file ending in .xlsx. Select Next, and then select Choose File to upload the saved file. Verify that the SSIDs listed are correct, then select Next. If any of the SSIDs are incorrect, re-enter the correct SSIDs into the Excel template and upload the new file. Review the Confirm Details screen. The phone number belongs to the user who entered the incident. This does not change the contact information for the organization in TOMS, but provides up-to-date contact information if a follow-up is needed. Based on the information submitted, the user can select Next, and an appeal may or may not be needed. For example, if a student's test is paused, and you report that the student was unable to complete the test before it expired, your case is not eligible for an appeal, since a paused status means that the test is already open and ready for the student to resume testing. Remember, find the status of a student's test in the completion status system. If a case is eligible for an appeal, select the box next to each SSID prior to submitting the appeal. The use of the Notes field is optional. You can enter questions or comments related to the outcome of your submission. There is no need to reiterate what has already been stated. If the case is not eligible for an appeal, you will see an alert message. There is no appealable testing opportunity for the SSIDs associated with this STAIRS case. Ensure the correct test has been selected for incident reporting in background information of this case. Certain ELPAC STAIRS incidents require that the LEA provides a corrective plan of action at the time of the STAIRS submission. The plan must detail what the LEA intends to implement to avoid such testing irregularities and breaches from occurring in the future. After selecting the Submit button, the STAIRS summary screen will appear. This screen shows a summary of the information submitted and the appeal type, if any. You can expect to receive an email from CA-assessments@ets.org summarizing your submittal. To search for a case or check its status, select the Search STAIRS tab on the action bar. There is a variety of criteria that you can use to search, including a student's SSID, the STAIRS ID, and appeal category. To search for a student's appeal status, select the Search Appeals tab on the Actions bar. You can search by organization, SSID, appeal ID, appeal type, as well as by appeal status and STAIRS ID. You can also review the STAIRS summary page by selecting the magnifying glass View icon. If a user does not populate a search field and selects Search, the search results will display all STAIRS cases for that organization. There is a difference between searching STAIRS cases and searching appeals. The Search STAIRS tab will tell you which cases have been processed. The Search Appeals tab will tell you the status of an appeal for a specific student. Possible appeal statuses include pending approval, rejected, or processed. Remember, just because you submit a STAIRS case does not mean it will require an appeal. A confirmation email will be sent from CA-assessments@ets.org when a case is submitted or withdrawn. In addition, the submitter is also sent an approval or rejection email when the appeals related to the STAIRS case are processed. If you search by school name in the organization field, you can review all available cases and their statuses. This can help managing your LEA, following up on cases that may be drafted and not yet completed, or keeping coordinators updated regarding specific appeals. Don't forget, all STAIRS cases must be submitted prior to the end of the LEA's selected testing window for most of the CAASPP, or prior to the end of the administration window for the CSA and ELPAC. You can submit questions to case reviewers. Select the magnifying glass View icon to open the case, select the Notes button, type your comment or question, and select Save Notes to submit. You may receive an email in response to your message. The Notes tab is available once the case is submitted. The submitter will receive a system-generated email notification every time a case note is added. It is important to check on the Notes tab of your pending STAIRS cases, as your reviewer may have questions prior to processing. LEAs have the option of withdrawing the request for an appeal for specific SSIDs from the case once it has been submitted, but not yet processed. To do this, select the Withdraw button on the summary page of the case. When you select Withdraw, you will receive a confirmation email. It is important to note that all incidents must be reported within 24 hours of the incident occurring. In the case of a high-risk incident, such as test content being posted on social media, you must alert a California Technical Assistance Center or CAASPP representative immediately, in addition to submitting a case through STAIRS. CAASPP representatives can be reached by phone at 800-955-2954. There is one exception to the 24-hour rule that is related to the need for a delayed appeal. The only exception is when a student inadvertently accesses a test before the scheduled testing date. The LEA may need to continue testing the student, but at a later time, at which time the test will have expired. In this case, the LEA should report the issue in STAIRS and request the reopen appeal a few days prior to resuming testing for the student. Note that a delayed appeal is only applicable to the CAASPP. A recommended alternative to delaying the submission of the case is to start the STAIRS case and then save it as a draft until you are ready to submit it. This way, you will get a reminder of the draft STAIRS case on the My TOMS homepage. Please note that summative ELPAC registrations cannot be created in TOMS if any appeals for the initial ELPAC require processing in STAIRS. All appeals for the initial ELPAC must be processed before the student starts testing for the summative ELPAC. For more information, refer to the STAIRS Appeals Guide on the CAASPP and ELPAC website. On the main page, select the Help menu, and then select Manuals Library from the drop-down menu. The guide is located under the All Programs heading. Here are the key points to remember. TOMS is the one-stop shop for all STAIRS and appeals submissions. STAIRS and appeals submissions should only be submitted for the summative assessments for Smarter Balanced for ELA and Mathematics, the CAST, the CAAs for ELA and Mathematics, the CAA for Science, the CSA, and the ELPAC. STAIRS is not used for interim assessments. All incidents need to be reported within 24 hours and require use of the STAIRS and appeals process in TOMS. Test site coordinators are responsible for notifying their LEA coordinator of an incident. It is the responsibility of the LEA coordinator to ensure that all STAIRS cases are submitted and the CDE is notified, if applicable. If you have any questions, test site coordinators should contact their LEA coordinator for assistance, and LEA coordinators should direct any further questions to their LEA success agent. You can find contact information on the home page of the CAASPP and ELPAC website at www.caaspp-elpac.org. Thank you for watching.